Deadliest phase of Israel's Hamas hunt. Israeli troops surround Gaza city. Hamas entrenched in tunnel network. Biggest risk now to IDF forces. More blood ahead for both sides. Super exclusive ground coverage.
Despite all the blood that has already been spilt between Israel and the Gaza Strip, perhaps the most violent phase of the hunt for Hamas is probably just ahead of the Israeli Defense Forces. And the reason I say that now is because the Israeli Defense Forces, as you will see in pictures that have been just put out by them, is of them completely surrounding Gaza City, which is the biggest city in the Gaza Strip, with images of Israeli soldiers attacking the tunnel network that is said to house the Hamas control and command centers. Pictures of on your screen right now are the latest images coming in from the Gaza Strip, released by the Israeli Defense Forces, depicting combat engineers currently working to destroy Hamas terrorist infrastructure in northern Gaza, including, as you can see, tunnels, water and oxygen storage tanks discovered inside the tunnel network, indicating that Hamas is preparing for a prolonged standoff from underground, with a large part of northern Gaza completely razed to rubble and debris. 130 tunnel entrances have been destroyed since the beginning of this war, and the Israeli Defense Forces believe this is just the tip of the iceberg. The deadliest phase of Israel's Hamas hunt has officially begun now. Israeli forces have surrounded Gaza City. The images you see here are not very far from Gaza City. The tanks have rolled in, but they're not getting into the city because there is huge risk there. There, it's a built-up area, and the possibility of extremely violent urban warfare is extremely high. Israeli troops may have surrounded the city, vowing to crush the Hamas for its October massacre, but Israeli soldiers are playing it safe and staying their ground outside the city, with only special forces actually moving inside Gaza City. They're busy destroying tunnels in the same settlements and streets where Hamas terrorists planned and plotted the October 7th attack. Here's the very latest from the ground.
Israeli forces are being greeted by Hamas tunnels across Gaza City. At every street, at every corner, there's a tunnel. As Israeli soldiers dig through the ground, terror hideouts continue to unravel. This is Beit Lahiya in Gaza City. The Hamas terrorists gave a tough fight to Israeli ground forces here. But now the Israeli army is destroying tunnels in the same settlements and streets where Hamas terrorists planned and plotted the October 7th attack. Since Israel's ground offensive began on October 27th, it has so far blasted more than 130 Hamas tunnels. As you move past the labyrinth of tunnels, there's only destruction in Gaza City. Wherever you look, there are ruined buildings, collapsed roofs. The entire settlement is scattered in dust. These are not ordinary pictures. The truth of Gaza City came to light when a group of journalists along with Israeli army entered the Gaza Strip. This is what they saw in just 1.5 hours. The 401 Brigade of the Israeli army is deployed on the front in this area. They move forward only on tanks. After inspection, Israeli army soldiers come out and enter each house and investigate.
One of the first soldiers that came in this neighborhood, and yes, when we came in, we weren't shooting when we just came in. We were getting shot at. They were shooting at us, so we had to shoot back to protect our lives. I'll tell you something. The Israeli army is here to protect innocent people.
It is clear that there was a family apartment above this, but below was a workshop for making weapons and drones. Tools, pipes, and 5 boxes all kept there.
You understand? This is not an army. It's different. They meant to kill us all. They came from here.
Israeli army soldiers spent their time from morning till evening locating the hideouts of Hamas among these ruins.
We're getting to know the enemy a little bit more and more every time, every house we're getting into. We're trying to be careful for ourselves all the time. It's good so far.
Only Israeli army armored vehicles or tanks are being used to enter Gaza City. Israeli army soldiers are parking their tanks by building sand dunes in the settlements inside the city. With Rajesh Pawar from Tel Aviv, Bureau Report, India Today.
And I want to go across to our man on the ground, Rajesh Pawar, who is in Nitzana, which is in southern Israel. It's on the Israel-Egypt border, where Rajesh has just been reporting on aid crossing over from Israel to Egypt so that that aid can be funneled towards Gaza from the Rafah crossing. Rajesh, we're hearing about what's happening inside Gaza today, the surrounding of Gaza city, images coming out from the IDF of active bombing of some of those tunnel networks. What are you hearing from inside? Because we're hearing that the complete surrounding and encirclement of Gaza city is one thing, but the risks of actually moving in could pose many more dangers going forward.
Very true, Shiv. You see, the urban warfare is the worst nightmare of any army. And we're talking about tanks and armored personnel carriers right now. Normally, in convention, they bypass such cities or urban centers because tanks move inside highly urbanized area. There are narrow alleys and streets, and they can be fired upon by anti-tank weapons from any rooftop, from any window, and it poses a big threat to them. And that is why normally they degrade the target first, they soften the target first from outside, and generally it's in infantry and the special forces which move in to clear targets. And in such areas like Gaza City, they have to clear street by street, house by house. So it is going to be a very, very long and very tedious operation and will result in a lot of casualties. As it is, IDF has suffered more than 350 dead by now, and this casualty rate is likely to rise with every passing day. Shiv.
Okay, Rajesh, thanks very much for getting us that update. In fact, we've just had a breaking update coming in from the surrounding region. An IDF, an Israeli fighter jet has eliminated terrorist Ibrahim Abu Maghsib, head of the Hamas anti-tank missile unit in the central part of the Gaza Strip and the Central Camps Brigade. So another Hamas big fish has reportedly been eliminated in an Israeli airstrike. As part of his position, Maghsib directed and carried out numerous anti-tank missile launches directed at Israeli civilians and soldiers, according to the IDF. And those are images of that airstrike in which Abu Maghsib was reportedly eliminated earlier today or yesterday. Well, that's something that was happening inside the Gaza Strip. But remember, tensions are high around Israel as well, especially with Iran's many proxies baring their fangs and raising the temperatures against Israel. After cruise missiles and ballistic missiles were launched by Yemen against Israel and intercepted by allied forces, now Yemen claims to have shot down an American MQ-9 Reaper drone, a $32 million armed Reaper drone, which is the cutting edge of American drone warfare, flying over the Red Sea, was shot down by Yemeni Houthi rebels using a surface-to-air missile. They released video footage of that drone being shot down. Those are the images on your left. And the United States government and Pentagon have in fact confirmed that an MQ-9 Reaper drone has in fact been shot down over international waters, even though the Houthi rebels say these were Yemeni territorial waters and they acted in self-defense. That video depicts it. Remember, the MQ-9 drone is very similar to the Sea Guardian and Sky Guardian drones that the Indian government is about to purchase about 31 of. They're very, very similar. They are similar to look at, they're similar in size, and will also carry similar kinds of armaments and sensors. It is that kind of a drone, in fact, that has been shot down by the Yemeni rebels, and this has in fact raised temperatures interminably in the region, suggesting that this has gone way beyond just Israel versus Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Remember, the United States has deployed in mammoth force with 2 aircraft carrier battle groups already deployed in the region to deter against any Iranian escalations. But Iran continues to escalate through its proxies, the Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and in this case, the Houthis in Yemen. And a third piece of breaking news that we've gotten to you is that Israeli soldiers have located a Hamas weapons production and storage facility inside a residential building right next to a children's bedroom, they say. IDF soldiers discovered a Hamas weapons manufacturing and storage facility used to reportedly produce and store drones and weapons. The site was located in a residential building in close proximity to schools in the center of the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood in northern Gaza. This is very much, remember, in keeping with the Israeli allegation that Hamas terrorists have constantly embedded their infrastructure in civilian areas as a human shield and to give Israelis second thoughts about striking known targets. In the building, Hamas explosives and operational plans were found right next to a children's bedroom, according to the Israeli forces. But remember that the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is very real. In picture after picture emerging from the Gaza Strip over the last 35 days, the situation is visibly becoming a large-scale global humanitarian crisis. Gazans are reeling through a crisis that is expanding. As the Israel-Hamas war has entered day 34, it's been complete bloodshed where lives have been lost. Take a look at this ground report by India Today's Rajesh Pawar from Nitzana, where trucks carrying aid are entering into Egypt and then into the Gaza Strip.
What you see behind me, the movement of these lorries, these trucks, they are the trucks laden with humanitarian aid meant for Gazans. This aid has come from several countries. We have seen containers from Indonesia, Kuwait, which landed in Egypt. They were loaded onto trucks and they were brought into Nizza crossing here in Israel. So they can be inspected by the IDF so that there's no contraband or anything which Israelis do not want to enter Gaza. After these trucks are inspected, which are having medicine, food, water, and other supplies meant for the Gazans, they go back to Egypt. And you can see the Egyptian border behind there. Now these trucks are going back into Egypt from Israel. And once they reach the Egyptian territory, they'll be escorted by the Egyptian army till Rafah crossing, which is between Gaza and Egypt. And from there, they will enter inside Gaza. This is quite an historic moment, the kind of collaboration we are seeing between Egyptian army and IDF. For the first time, it looks like IDF has placed so much of trust on Egyptian army that they have allowed Egyptian army to monitor these trucks right till Rafah so that nothing is loaded onto them on the way till the time they reach Rafah, and it doesn't create problem for IDF in Gaza. I'm right now at Nitzana border crossing between Egypt and Israel. On the other side of me is Sinai, which is part of Egypt. We have a huge convoy of humanitarian goods right now, which Israel is permitting for the first time from their territory to go into Rafah border crossing into Gaza Strip. You can see behind me, there's Egyptian Red Cross stickers on all these trucks. So it's being coordinated by the Red Cross and Egyptian Red Cross. And you can see there's so many trucks laden with goods here. And all these trucks from here, after they have been checked by the IDF, because IDF wants to make sure there is nothing in these trucks which is prohibited by them to be taken inside Gaza Strip, like ammunition, arms, fuel, or any other kind of stuff which they do not want to enter inside Gaza Strip. After they have checked and cleared these trucks from here, they will go back to Egypt and from there onto Rafah crossing, and then they will enter Gaza Strip. And throughout on the route from here till Rafah crossing in Egyptian territory, it will also be monitored by IDF in coordination with the Egyptian army. So it's first time we're seeing a huge convoy of humanitarian aid entering Rafah into Gaza Strip with the coordination with IDF. This is Rajesh Pawar from Egypt-Israel border for India Today.
India Today, remember, continues to be the only channel reporting from Israel, from Gaza, reporting on the crisis on both sides and reporting every single aspect of it factually, so you can watch war reporting the way it's meant to be reported. Thanks for watching 5 Live. I'll see you again tomorrow.